Well, if you bought any sort of merchandise at a World of Outlaws event, chances are you've had contact with this gentleman. We're talking about Wes Irwin, who is the sales representative for the World of Outlaws Sprint Cars at the merchandise trailer. He is here to talk about his journey to get to the World of Outlaws, what life on the road is like, as well as his Living Like Outlaws page. That's coming up next on the Getting Up to Speed podcast after these messages. Dave's Home Supply specializes in cabinets, flooring, and countertops. Visit their website at daveshomesupply.com to look at products, services, financing, and even a free estimate. Are you looking for bookkeeping, payroll, or income tax services? Then check out the folks at For You Simple Bookkeeping. They are a licensed tax preparer throughout the entire United States. For more information, click on the link in the description. Well, joining me on the Getting Up to Speed podcast, he's the head of merchandise sales at the souvenir trailer for the World of Outlaws Sprint Car Series, Wes Irwin, also the founder of Living Like Outlaws podcast. Wes, great to have you here. I know this is kind of some sacred time, so to speak, because things are kind of, you're in that lull. The World Finals are over, but then the Dirt Car Nationals are going to be heating up here very shortly.
Yeah, it's okay, though, because, my vacation is it's short and sweet, but I'm always doing stuff even though I'm on my break. I take my winter break at home in Florida. Me and Linda are down on the beach with the dogs here, and kind of a windy day, so we're heading on our way back home and just enjoying my time down. It goes pretty fast, man. I'm already receiving merchandise over at Volusia Speedway Park is where I live for the winter now, and I'm already receiving merchandise for the upcoming season. So it kind of tells me, yeah, fun time's over.
Sure. Yeah. Time to warm up the time card.
Yeah, exactly. It's, I got a good deal with the World of Outlaws, not Series Drink Sprint Car Series though. I'm paid all year round. So, I'm getting paid to goof off for 2 months, but you want to do some working while you're down here. We have things like meetings and stuff like that, but I'm always working on, Living Like Outlaws social media stuff. But I'm going to have to take off from Florida here early January for about 4 days and fly up to Concord to pick up the rig, which most people that follow my page know I call it Big Blue and the Swaggin' Wagon. So we'll have to head up there, and I'll be up there for a couple days, and I'll turn right around and just come right back down to Volusia Speedway. And what we'll do there is we'll get the trailer set up the way it needs to be for the season. And while I'm down here, I'm a safety official. I work on the track for some of the big races at Volusia Speedway Park, so I get to have fun doing that too. So I'm never really kind of off of work, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, and that's kind of a great thing that you're always hot, right? You're always staying hot, body's warmed up, and it's easy to kind of get lazy when you're off for several months.
Yeah, we don't get a chance to do that. Matter of fact, I can't. It's hard for me to even sit still, so I'm just so used to the go life out, anymore. It's the norm, and if we, the last 2 weeks have been kind of it's been great that Linda came down to Florida to hang out with me for the winter, but if it wasn't for that, I think I'd be bored out of my mind, and that's really weird to say when you live near the beach. So, but that's how I got.
Yeah, I know. I mean, in that Barberville, Orlando area, there's so much stuff to do. You've got the beach, Disney World's not too far away, and all the, kind of a touristy area. So you're definitely blessed, that's for sure. I wish I was where you're at.
Yeah, I've been calling Florida home for some time now, in my adult life, and I used to live in Fort Myers Beach, Florida, which was even better yet. As far as very tropical down there. The Gulf of Mexico is just badass place to hang out. But I do like it here. I like Flagler Beach and Ormond Beach and, even hanging in Daytona for certain things. But you're right. I mean, you can open the door, turn left, right, or go straight, and you can find something to do down here in Florida. And, that's kind of why I live down here, because I am one of those guys that likes to do things all the time.
Well, and Fort Myers is a great area because it's not choked with all the tourism and everything, and it's still it's a sacred place for sure.
Yeah, it's changed a lot though after the hurricane, after Ian and stuff, and wiping most of it out. It's I probably won't return to Fort Myers Beach. I'll probably stay on the East Coast now, and probably where I'll spend the remainder of my life is probably over on this coastline now. And not sure where yet, but it depends on when I want to give up what I'm doing. So, and I don't see that on the horizon anytime soon.
Well, talking about what you do is you've basically gave a perfect outline to how the season starts. So merchandise, so it'll get to you. You guys fit up the merchandise rig, and for those 4 days, getting it ready for the season. That's basically making sure your inventory is there, making sure everything is dusted off. I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit more to it.
Well, yeah. I mean, basically, what happens now that I stay at Volusia, what I do is when I go up there, it's pretty much just to get the trailer and truck and throw everything in it. I don't really. Back in the day I used to, but I don't really set it up there anymore because it's like this. I can bring it down to the track and have, plug in, and I don't have to run diesel. Mm-hmm. And it's also, why wouldn't I want to work in better weather than work up in, not that Concord has has bad weather, but it can get cold and rainy up there in that time of year. So I just hop right back in my truck and roll down here. And then I have a couple weeks to get it set up. And so what happens in between that is, we have all the stuff we took off the trailer last year, or this year rather, when the season was over, and we did our inventory on it. So that stuff will get thrown back in, and then all the new stuff that's being printed or getting ready to be printed will actually be sent right to Volusia Speedway Park. The stuff that I'm going to get before the Dirt Car National starts. So that way there's no mess up there, and I don't have to wait around for stuff to be shipped in, and it's just easier to do everything I do down here now and have that the luxury of working 4 hours if I want to, or 3 hours a day if I want to get the trailer ready for the season. So I can set the trailer up and have cocktails. It's
sure.
It's kind of nice when you're in Charlotte and you're trying to get your trailer ready. You just want to get out of there because you want to head back south. And for me anyway, so I don't like being there because I like to be in warmer weather. So anymore today, we get that thing set up down here, and it's a lot of work. I mean, it's people think, oh yeah, he just opens the door, but you're going to put all the new stuff up. You're going to get your stuff situated to where it needs to go, hanging stuff on the wall. You might switch things around a couple times until you like what you see, because the presentation of everything today matters, I think. And
absolutely.
We're going to have a TV in there now with Dirt Vision playing on it. We're going to have a lot of different stuff going on next year. Hopefully a lot of cool stuff in the Midway. I can't really say about that right now, but I feel like the World of Outlaws, the World Racing Group, has given me a little more power to make these Midways fun, and that's exactly what we're going to do. These fans, when they come in, we're going to make sure they had a good time before the races started.
Well, and I think what's really important too is you're a part of the show, right? You may not be in a car racing or announcing or anything, but you're just an important part of that fan experience where somebody goes somewhere and you take the time to talk to them. I've seen you take selfies with folks that want to take selfies with you, and to give that impression of, I had a great time, it was an enjoyable experience, the whole staff was welcoming, I want to do this again. And that's very important. Customer service is huge, and you're a major part of that.
Yeah, sometimes people forget maybe the Midway. They're there for the races. We get that, but there's a lot of people that come early to enjoy the festivities per se before a race, because the Midway is like your party area. And you might catch Carson Macedo in his trailer for an hour signing autographs, and in his merchandise trailer, and some of the other drivers, and they mentioned most of them come down to their trailers and sign autographs, but it's a place where people can get ready and pumped up for the race itself. But, you want to put on a good show from start to finish. And as far as I'm concerned, the minute they walk through the gate, it has started. And that all begins in the Midway. So, not to me. And, in a racing way. So, yeah, it's super important that people enjoy themselves, because, if I'm going to get to a race at 2:00 in the afternoon, which is kind of early, but some people do that. They want to tailgate, and when those gates open and they can come into the Midway and get the stuff they want to get ahead of time, you want to make sure they had a good time and they weren't sitting there twiddling their thumbs.
Well, and something that I see is you're always upbeat, you're happy, you enjoy what you do, which is very important for people's mental health. You know, you will never work a day in your life if you are doing what you enjoy, what you love. And no doubt, if you had a different attitude, it would definitely reflect on possibly the audience as well. Like, not as many people would be going to these shows because if you're the first person they see, you know, you're kind of the greeter, the Walmart greeter for the Outlaws, perhaps. And if you're not, you know, it's like, hey, welcome to Walmart, you know, like, go find your stuff versus like, hey, welcome, you know, anything. If you need to, you know, if you need to try anything on, let me know. Hey, we got this in stock and great to see you, or who you cheering for. That makes a huge difference, right?
Oh yeah. You know, absolutely. I mean, I have down days. Don't get me wrong. You know, I'm just like everybody else. And when you do this day in and day out for 10 months, you know, there's some fans out there, and we're not all perfect. And there's some fans out there that are kind of on the negative side sometimes, and they give you some grief, and it can eat at you, but you got to just keep pushing forward and get through that. And, you know, what I try to do when I'm getting to a point where I feel little, because you're right, people will notice you if you're in a bad mood, especially
Sure.
the people that follow my page that come up to see me. But I try to just remember that, you know, I was a fan once too, you know, and I got to put, you know, my foot in their shoes a little bit per se, you know, and understand that they're pretty excited, or they feel that, you know, they want to be heard and things like that. So you kind of got to take that stuff, and, you know, as long as everybody's having a good time, the weather's good, and everybody's working together really well, things go smoothly. But, you know, there's all these predicaments that can come into play, and it can make it a little bit of a nightmare sometimes. But, you know, yes, you definitely got to, you know, I especially going into 2024, I got some new ideas for not only for the group, for the company, but for myself. And I'm hoping that, you know, it makes me, I need more challenges out there, I guess you could say, you know, because you don't want things to be the same day in and day out. And you go every year, it's like, oh, it's the same thing. So I welcome new challenges. I welcome responsibility, and hopefully the company will give me a little more of that. And we're going to have some fun this year in the Midway. I'm looking forward to the things I got planned for Living Like Outlaws. I'm looking forward to how the season's going to, because obviously with all this craziness going on in the sprint car world, it's going to be different. So, you know, now everybody's going to kind of, you know, step it up a little bit. You know, everybody's kind of been forced at hand to, hey, we got the best product out here, where, you know, hopefully everybody just gets along and enjoys the fact that we got all these series now, and 410 racing, and we support it all.
Well, yeah, no doubt. Everybody's rising to the occasion, essentially. And
Yeah.
you hit something. You were a fan first. Tell me your background on exactly how you got involved in racing, and then obviously how this position came in. Like, was there any sort of background in retail or customer service that landed you being this job? I'm really interested on that story.
No, you know, not really. But I mean, it's funny because there was some retail in my life back in the day when I was younger. So I come from a racing family, just like most people are probably going to listen to this, or people you know, or people you see at the races.
Yeah.
We all have some kind of background in it most of our lives. And I come from a racing family. Dad raced, uncles raced, my brother raced, you know, and I raced as well. So, but I had a big life in jet ski racing. So, so there was a time frame in my life where, you know, living in Florida, I did that I didn't do car racing right away. Mm-hmm. And, but I raced jet skis, but I also ran a jet ski rental business on the beach for somebody. So it was kind of like I was always on a jet ski, but I also was like an overseer, like a general manager of a surf shop. So that was my retail experience.
Sure.
But I tell you, we did things a little different in the surf world, you know, like It's like, you know, the representative comes in and shows you the new line, and you're like, you know how much money you got, and you're like, yeah, I want this, and I want this in my surf shop. But that was a little bit stint of my retail life. I didn't have any other prior to that, and that was a short-lived thing anyway. I just helped some friends of mine who had a surf shop get it up and running. But you know, I finally got into racing at a later age, and I ran some stock cars and micros and blah blah blah. and whatever I could get myself in. And I ended up in a sprint car finally. And I was fortunate enough because I was very good with my social media and tooted my own horn that I was able to even race in Australia as a no name. And quite an experience, quite an adventure I've had in my life. But retail experience, not a lot of it. So when the Outlaws called me, and I got pretty much a job with them because I knew people already in the organization. Because I'm going to tell you, it's really hard to get a job with them. That works out for anybody because, especially on the sprint car side of things, you better not really have a family, and you better really like traveling because there's a lot of that. And so it takes a certain kind of person to want to come out and do this work. And I talked to some friends that were already working for them, and I kind of let them know I was out of the racing scene. And they called me, and all they had available at the time was the merchandise trail. And I was like, yeah, nah. But anyways, make a long story short, here I am 7 years later. I'm still in the darn thing.
And I mean, obviously you've done a great job. You enjoy what you do. Tell me kind of about your like first day on the job. Like, well, I should say first day in front of people, on stage, so to speak, as they would say, like in Disney. What was like? Was that definitely a whirlwind experience?
Yeah, but I mean, as far as like dealing with people, I was kind of already used to that. Mm-hmm. It was just the idea of selling them something. I wasn't used to that, but the first day we opened the doors would have been, Dirt Car Nationals down here in Volusia Speedway Park. And I was pretty pumped up, to be honest with you. I was like, man, this is cool. Like, this is going to be pretty badass. And, I enjoyed it. So it didn't scare me. It didn't make me flustered or anything like that. It was weird because I've never sold things like that before. So, but talking to everybody and enjoying their conversation about racing and stuff like that, I was right at home.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. And like basically, like let's just say it's a one night show somewhere. What is kind of your routine as far as, do you get to the track? Do you drive through the night to get to the venue, or does it kind of depend on where the venue is? And as far as like when does setup start and when does teardown start for you?
This is where the part comes in, where I say to those people that said, man, I'd love to have your job. This is where it gets tricky, and this is where it gets tough because, everybody sees, especially on my page, I try to keep that upbeat and positive. Everybody sees the shiny things in my job, but they don't see the dull things, and, those are the hard things that people don't realize we do. So we don't do a lot of overnight drives anymore like we used to, because it seems like logistically we've been making our schedules better, and, we're doing a lot of 2-day shows lately at some of the tracks, but there's a lot of times, and in the past when I first started, where you race somewhere on Friday night and your next track is 5-6 hours away, and you being in charge of the midway, you have to be there first.
Yeah.
So basically you want to be there, let's say 11 o'clock is your time frame because you told everybody else to be there at 11 o'clock. Well, here's what comes into factor there. All right, you're already up, you're already pumped up because you worked all night long. Closing a trailer up is a pain in the butt, especially my trailer, because people don't see the overstock that I have, they don't see that stuff that we have to carry out every day and put inside an easy up that we have set up with walls on it and, 60, 70 tubs, and then you got to throw them right back in. And, usually I'm the last one out of the track. Most people have already hightailed it, but I prefer to drive straight through and get to the next track because, one, I live in a toter home, so I don't need to worry about a hotel room. So I can drive to the track and park there and catch a couple hours of sleep. Two, you learn life on the road. Our equipment isn't by any means newer, and it doesn't matter anyway. Things can happen out there. And, the way the world is today, people don't work like they used to. So when you blow a tire out on one of these rigs and you need to get somebody out there to change it, and with them being so small staffed anymore today, it takes quite a few hours to get somebody to come out. So I'd rather have the blowout happen to me where I still have time to get it together and still make it to the track by 11 o'clock. So those two things make me drive overnight. But I'm telling you, man, there's some drives that we used to do. Like, for example, we would leave, what am I trying to think of here? We would leave we would leave Black Hill Speedway in South Dakota, okay,
Yeah.
and over there near Sturgis, and we would leave overnight and have to race in Billings, Montana. Okay, now
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people know how far apart those two things are.
It's
They're
a hike.
good 7 hours anyway, and you're talking about some roads that aren't like, it's not an interstate. So, and you got antelope, you got deer running in front of you. By the time you get there, you look like the guy from some of those old Hot Rod cartoons where your eyes are all blown out of your head and they're bloodshot. But it's a tough. It's not easy, man. You got to like to drive, and you got to like to have that responsibility of taking care of people's stuff and driving those hours and overnights like that. But that's the fun. That's not the fun stuff. I don't mind it, but it's not the fun stuff. And the fun stuff is when we're sitting still and we're just having fun in all these towns.
Well, and something that you said is you're one of the last guys to leave, because I'm sure there's some folks that maybe they got there late or one, had to go find their seats. You're kind of one of the last guys that have to close up, because, it's like the last thing at Disneyland that closes the stores on Main Street, and that just so happens to be you.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Not only do I have to load up, it takes me, anywhere from a half an hour to an hour to load it back up, but I do have to be the last one, yes. And that's just, it's just company policy in a sense. And, obviously, I'm more or less the ringleader there in the Midway. And, I got to be the last one because it wouldn't look professional if I was closing before everybody else. Well, but, we get out of there at some decent times anymore. And it's not bad. You get used to it. You get used to the grind.
Well, and I think it's great common courtesy, too, because it's one of those things, again, putting yourselves in the shoes of the customer. Sometimes, just the way things are, that's the only race that they attend to all year long. And it goes back to impressions and everything. If they miss out on getting a shirt that they really wanted from the merchandise trailer because you were in a hurry or something and decide to leave early, you never know what sort of ripple effect that could cause.
Yeah, and you're right about that. And, it's part of putting the fan's shoe on. You're right. Some of these people only get to one of our shows, and it's a pretty big deal for them to come out to one of them. So, yes, you definitely anymore today, it seems like we open up earlier and earlier every year, and we close about the same time every year. But we've been open up a lot earlier because fans are just coming out early. And I think the Midway is becoming a little more important than it used to be. Where it's becoming that place where I want to be entertained by people. The fans want to be entertained. So again, look out. Hopefully, we got some cool stuff up our sleeves here. For the Midways, and the fans will have a little more fun, and it won't just be about buying merchandise. But that's definitely changed over the few years, especially since COVID hit and we got back into racing. It seemed like all of a sudden the Midways became crazy, and I mean crazy in a good way.
Yeah,
definitely people out there buying things, but there was a time when when COVID was going on that we weren't at races and we weren't racing, so the online store is the only thing you had. So I think people feel a little, it's a little more of it's personal when you buy your stuff at the track, if you know what I mean. Like when I'm out on tour and I go to a bar and I have the best wings I ever ate and I drank some cold ones and I met some cool people, guess what I'm going to do? If I don't borrow the glass that has their name on it, and when I say borrow, I like to take glasses, but
sure.
I'll buy a t-shirt, because like it's a personal connection I have with them. And, somebody will say, hey, well, why don't you just buy a t-shirt online? But it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
You want to buy it at the place, at the event. It makes it special to the person.
Well, and it's right there. You can, size it up like, do these shrink? You basically have a customer service agent right there, because that's something I always ask, and that determines the size of shirt that I buy. Are they pre-shrunk, or what's
right,
the what's the ratio of cotton kind of thing? And so and right there you're able to get it and throw it on. What's the Jeff Foxworthy thing? If you're a redneck, you'll wear something that you bought within 24 hours. So yeah.
Well, people buy the stuff early, and I think that's why some people get it early. Now, some people will tell you, I got it early because I want to rent it out to my car. I don't want to hang on to it while I'm watching races. I get that part. That's That's kind of like traditional in sprint car or any racing really. But some people will buy that shirt and then they'll go out to the parking lot and they come back in, they have that shirt on. It's kind of funny, but I get it, it's kind of pretty cool, that's how they represent for us in a sense, and all this stuff, these people walking around with our stuff on, walking around with the drivers on, it helps the wheels turn on this company, and it helps the wheels turn on these race teams because people don't understand how important merchandise is anymore today. Like you notice more drivers anymore today have a merchandise trailer. The more and more they're getting, and more of them are buying them because they found out, they can make some money. And kudos for the fans that are buying this stuff and helping them get across the country. So, it's a win-win with merchandise. It really is. It's never going to go away. It only gets bigger and bigger every year.
And it helps promote the sport because Jack Johnson, who's wearing a World of Outlaws shirt in Walmart on his way to the races, somebody's like, man, well, that's kind of cool. What is that? Oh, well, it's a sprint car series. Right. I'm going to the race, at, Motorplex B. They're racing tonight. Oh my gosh, we're in town. We have nothing to do. That would be a perfect case scenario. But, you just, you're supporting small business as well as you're advocating for the whole sport, and you're basically a walking billboard.
Yes, and that's super important because, not a lot of, some tracks are at fault for it. Some promoters are at fault for it. Some, general managers are at fault for it. But, social media is still important. And, you hear a lot of people say, I hate social media. It's all bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be. Social media is so important in what we do because anymore today, that's how people find out if you're racing or where you're racing. People don't go to websites like they used to. People don't, you can't get it, you can't get it in the newspaper because probably half the towns don't even have a newspaper anymore, but everything is digital. And, so that's another topic, but, social media is so important. But yeah, wearing that t-shirt helps people find out about something that they might not have known about. And it's going to be crazy. This sounds crazy, but take it from me because I've been all over this country. We'll go out, 2 days before an event because I'm already in town and, we'll get stirring up a conversation with people in a bar or something. And those people might be 8 miles down the road from this track and never even knew there was a racetrack there, never knew there was an event going on. I mean, that just blows my mind in the century we are in that people don't know what's in their own backyard. So, social media is super important, man. And that's why, I use it to grow what I'm doing on the side. And I use it for the good. I don't use it for the evil. But
Sure.
Unfortunately, we got a lot of fans that like to do that. And it's sad because, I say this on everybody that talks to me, the fan can be our own worst enemy sometimes. If they don't like something, they're very boisterous about it, but they don't realize how much they're hurting their own sport when they do stuff like that because, sponsors that are looking to sponsor a track or sponsor a driver that might run at that track, they might change their mind when they see all that negativity. So, social media can be a bad thing, but man, can it be a good thing when it's on?
Oh, totally. They can be the greatest enemy, but they can also be the greatest ally because it all comes down to a choice of what kind of attitude you're going to have. And that starts when you wake up. And it can be just as easy to have a negative outlook on life, but it can be just as easy to, even though things aren't perfect in the world or maybe in your own personal life, it's just as easy to say, you know what, it may not be a perfect day, but today's going to be a good day.
Right.
Easier said than done. So, but,
You're right. I'm kind of having one of those days today. Nothing seemed to go as planned in my mind, but hey, you know what? We'll get through the rest of the day, and tomorrow's another one, and maybe next time it'll work out. But it's just part of it. But if I don't like something, it's like if people that follow my page, they'll see I post a lot about bars and restaurants and things like that. I do that for the fans. I try to post about places near the track I'm at. Mm-hmm. And, if I don't like something and I took some pictures, I always take like several pictures and then I post it or I'll do a video or whatever the case may be. If I go to a place and I don't like it, I just don't post it. You know what I mean? Why hurt them? Why hurt them? It could have been an off day. Something could have went wrong. You don't know, and you don't want to hurt people. Let them get better at what they do. So, that's what I do there, and it seems to work out.
Well, and I was going to ask you, living like outlaws, what was the inspiration to do that? Was it just sort of just watching some other people vlog or kind of document their travels throughout the world?
Well, I've always kind of done stuff like this. I've had other media things that I've done in the past. There was a little stint. I worked a year at a racetrack for Scott Gobrecht up in Pennsylvania. And Scott, he's a pretty well-known guy. His brother was Kevin Gobrecht,
Yeah.
Of course, our Rookie of the Year award. But Scott
Motor Speedway, right?
Yeah, Babs Motor Speedway. He bought it just when I quit racing. That winter, he bought Babs, which was then called Susquehanna Speedway. And he asked me if I would come and help, turn that rough diamond into a very nice diamond. And we did just that. And so I had a little taste of that because I'd done a lot of social media for them. And that was a little harder to do because we didn't have a lot of this platform we have now. But I've always kind of tooted my own horn when I raced with what was available to me. So I've always, the idea of doing what I'm doing is like a challenge to me, I guess you could say. And then I started realizing that what I was doing was really helping the fan. And so now my whole deal behind Living Like Outlaws is that it's more of a fan guide kind of platform. So, people can say, he showed me a lot about that town, a lot about that racetrack, a lot about getting there, a lot about what we can do there. I'm hoping that fan that was thinking about going there now is checking that racetrack off their bucket list because we gave them a little more of a outside the window kind of look.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of what it is. So I just like to challenge. I like to challenge myself.
Yeah.
So starting my own thing was like, okay, this will be a fun little thing on the side. Well, the fun little thing turned into something kind of bigger now. And, I sell my own apparel and I got some sponsors. I've had a couple sponsors throughout the last 2 years and now I'm going to have a few more going into 2024. So it's kind of like, it's almost like I'm running a business now, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, no, you're building your own brand, which is, and I think we're seeing that a lot. And by all means, chime in here. We're seeing drivers build their own brand. Rico Abreu, Tanner Holmes, Sheldon Hodenshield, Donnie Schatz. When all you have to say is their first name and then, oh, I know who you're talking about, kind of thing. Like, did you see Rico run? Oh yeah, Whereas like if you were to go to a baseball game and say, oh, did you see, Rico hit that? Who the heck are you talking about? Like,
Well, and it goes back to what I said, tooting your own horn. And, I can touch a little on, like, I also have a Living Like Outlaws youth program. And, I got about 16 kids in that now. And I just signed up 3 new ones. And, it's a little program where I'm trading out my fortunate stage I'm blessed to have with these kids to grow their social media so they can toot their horn and get a little more popular. Because I tell you what, if I was 11 years old and I become a rock star because people are helping me get noticed, by the time I'm 17 years old and I'm driving big time cars, I'm already known. And, that's how, Rico and, Donnie and Tanner Holmes and all these guys that do that kind of stuff. Donnie really stepped up his like social media game big time, but, Rico's always kind of been in the game. And Rico and I have been good friends for a long time. And we've bounced things off each other. And I think him and I will collaborate on something soon. We've been talking about that. But, man, the guy is just, he's an influencer. And that's what I want to be when I grow up. So that's what I'm trying to do with my page. I'm just trying to influence people to treat the sport better, go to the sport, support the sport, check it off your bucket list. That's where we're at.
Well, and I think it's becoming contagious too, because you've got the David Gravel show that people are, always talking about now of like, oh my gosh, did you watch that last night? Or, oh man, I didn't know David was so funny, and things like that. And then it just comes all full circle because you go to World of Outlaw event and here are some of these guys that we're all talking about, these brands in action.
Well, the accessibility to our people is, obviously better than you're going to have in NASCAR and IndyCar and things like that. And that's really, really cool. So these guys are they're just taking it to the next level, like, and not only are they getting known, but and people find a little out. And I really truly believe fans want to know more about what these guys do besides drive a race car, which is what you're going to see some things coming out of my Living Like Outlaws next year that I'm doing with some of the drivers. I think it's going to be really cool and really fun to do. And people are going to get to know these drivers with the helmet off and not talk about racing all the time. And, I think that's going on a lot too. And, I mean, David's turned that little thing he's doing into a source of income as well. So, I mean, that's helping him get up and down the road a little bit more, because of what he's doing there. But, hey, as long as people are enjoying it and they're supporting you, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with making a little ching on it too.
No doubt. Every little bit helps. That's for certain.
Well, and people don't, I mean, a lot of, especially these people that get on there and bitch about series or teams or whatever the case may be, they have no dog in the fight and they do not understand what it takes to do this. And it took me a couple of years, as I was out here to learn a lot of things for teams and drivers and just families and what they go through to do this, man. People would not ever in a million years believe some of the things I know that we do to survive out here.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the sacrifices are endless of the things you miss out on family wise, even, if you got kids and stuff, or you're married, or, some of the best years of your lives, like health wise, is dedicated to, grinding things out and living the dream sort of that you've worked so hard to try and get to. And there's days where it's like, oh my gosh, what did I sign up for? But then that makes the good days so much better, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, that's the ups and downs of racing are already there when you walk into the sport, but they really get really magnified a little bit more when you're in a big top series level, and running on series like this. So, it's just more intense. But yeah, the good really is good. And, I love each and every one of the people that are out there with us, and again, I'm going to support all the series, all the divisions. And I don't care if you're racing bathtubs on dirt. I'm going to support it. And that's just me. And that's the way I am. But I do truly believe, and I'm very loyal to the company I work for. And I believe that there can be more and better things ahead for everybody. And I'm going to do my part to make that happen. So,
well, and something I was curious about is obviously you go to a lot of places. You crisscross the entire, continental U.S. And do you have a routine of places like you like to stop at as far as with the hauler, or do you try and switch it up a little bit? It's like, what? I haven't stayed at this place. That looked kind of interesting the last time we were going through town.
Well, you just said it. You covered it right there. And that's exactly what it is. It's like the longer I've been out here, like I used to, when I first started, I would buy a planner and, the schedule. I couldn't wait for the schedule to come out. I was so excited. And I get in the planner and I'd write down write down the events and where they were. And then I'd start getting on the internet, and I'd start searching for concerts, sporting events, and, restaurants and just anything. And I jot them in on there and I tried to hit some of that stuff. And then as I got older into this game, I started like just playing it 2 weeks ahead of time and trying to wing it more. But starting Living Like Outlaws has gained all this exposure for me. So now I have, followers that I call family, and I will call them family to the end of this earth. And they have done so much for me, found me places to park where, nobody even knows I'm there, or I'll park at an uncle's construction company. Yeah, he's got a hookup over there. Park over there, man, while you're here. They'll give me a truck to use or a car to use. I just got all these great people helping me now. So anymore today, it's kind of hard to plan anything because, everybody wants to do stuff with you. So to answer your question, there's some things that will always be a tradition, and I will always go to those. I will always do those things. I will return. Like going to, for example, when we're in South Dakota, I will always go to a Sioux Falls Canaries game because I love baseball. That's my other love. Mm-hmm. So I watch minor league and major league, and crisscrossing across the country, like you said, I get to see a lot of different games and add that to my list of, hey, I've been here now. And that's a ball team and a ball club that's always allowed me to park in their parking lot, live there for a couple days. always invite me in, never charge me, let me go to batting practice with them and everything. So these kind of things you can't give up. These are routines that I'm always going to be on there. But yeah, I got some things coming up that I used to do, a few years in a row that I want to change it up now. So, yeah, I definitely am looking for newer and fun things to do, especially going into our schedule this spring. We're going to a lot of tracks I've never been to before. So don't be surprised if you see me post about, hey, man, I'm coming to Cannondale, Texas. I think that's what they call it. And that's our first stop. And I'm going to post about, hey, I'm looking for a good place to park this rig for a day or two, or, what's the hot spots around the track. So I'll ask my followers because they'll tell me. And a lot of followers will tell me something. And sometimes I can't even do all the things that are recommended to me in a day, while I'm there. So I try to jot them down and try to catch them next year. So there's a little bit of traditional stuff. And then there's always that excitement of trying to do something different and new.
That's super cool that you have that connection with baseball. That's a kind of a passion of mine, along with wrestling, amateur wrestling, and super cool. What are some of the cool games that you've been able to go see?
Well, I get to see a lot of minor league more than I do major league, just because we tend to be. Not that we're not near any big cities, but we tend to be closer to smaller cities. So I've seen a lot. The Columbus Clippers. I've seen ball games. The Akron Rubber Ducks. So a lot of ball games in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've seen the Erie Crushers. So I think we caught 3 up there. It depends on where you're at, during the season, that part of the country. So, how you're going to see some ball games anyway. I seem to get, I think I got some scheduled to go see, when we're in Knoxville, I always want to go see the Iowa Cubs, and I never get a chance because it seems like they're always away. But
yeah.
They're on a target. They're on a target for this year because they're actually going to be home while we're there. So, just checking some off, and, the Canaries have always been my favorite, though, just because of what they've done for me. Now, Major League, this ain't going to come to a surprise to you if you follow my page, but I am a St. Louis Cardinals fan, and I'm going to tell you why. Because I stay at Kenny Wallace's house at least 2 or 3 times a year for like 4 or 5 days at a time at his shop and his home. He has a big enough area for me to park there and live there, and he gives me a car to use, just like my other followers.
Mm-hmm.
And, if you know Kenny Wallace, he is a St. Louis Cardinal fanatic. And, when you get there, you better be ready to go to at least 2 games that week. And
sure.
So I've grown to love his Cardinals because when you go on a tour with him, I remember the first time we went down there, Kenny will go the extra mile for his friends too. And everybody is his friend when it comes down to it. But he will go the extra mile to explain the city, the background of the baseball team, the history of it. And, I just learned to love the ballpark and love to learn the fans there. And, and the Cardinals, when they do well, it's great, And so the Cardinals are always a big deal. I've been to some Pittsburgh games when we used to race in Lernerville, but we lost that deal. So we don't race there anymore. I lost that deal, I should say. So, you start to look for other places to pick up games, and been to Minnesota Twins, hopefully get to a Texas Rangers games this year. I'm going to try and do that. There's some teams I'd like to see, but we just don't get close to them, So
yeah.
It just depends on where you are that part of the year. Because, Major League you can see for a good long time, but you got to be near a city, and we don't always have the luxury of being closer to bigger towns.
Do you get to see any Grapefruit League stuff during kind of that 1 month off that you guys get after Dirt Car Nationals?
Not really. I'd like to go to some of that, but I never really bothered with that, even living down here most of my life. So, when I lived in Fort Myers Beach, you would have thought I would have went to some spring training or something, and I never got into that. I want to go see a ball game.
Yeah.
I don't want to see no preseason, no practice. I want to see them play ball, and it's important to me. But yeah, baseball is pretty important. I love baseball. It's something I was always good at outside of racing, and those are pretty much my 2 sports. The only other good thing I'm good at is running my mouth. So
yeah,
that's I'm known for that. But I always said I'm better at running my mouth than I was my sprint car. But I do enjoy going to concerts and whatever we can catch. I'm a big reggae fan, so I
Okay.
love reggae music, and it's very limited that I get a chance to go watch any reggae bands anywhere. It's kind of a tough deal to find that going on and crisscross with some of them. But while I'm down here, I get to see quite a few, which is awesome. Matter of fact, next Friday I'm going to see the Elevators, and I got the Movement on my schedule. I've seen K-Bong down here. I've seen a lot of cool bands, and reggae is kind of my thing, and beach life is kind of my thing. So I've got a really interesting life, and it's fun. It's fun, it's fun kind of having that mix in it.
That's super cool. Yeah, you got to mix it up to keep things fresh for sure. It's definitely been awesome to get to know you and hear your story, your journey, as well as what sort of is on the horizon in the future. It just pops in my mind like, man, what do you do when it's a super tight spot to park at for a midway that a racetrack maybe has kind of a tricky situation, or if there's inclement weather in the area and you've just unloaded everything and can make things. I'm sure those are the challenges, but you've learned how to overcome them over the years.
Yeah, you just deal with it. It's just rain's just water. It dries. Unfortunately, most of the time it cancels the races, though. So we don't like that word, and we don't like working in it because we don't want it to be happening. But yeah there's all kinds of, in the springtime, it's not going to be the warmest weather. The places we go, it's going to be a lot of rain. It could be some rain out in the spring. It can be cold as can be. Even here in Florida, of all things, when we go, when we're at the Dirt Car Nationals, and you're in February. You might be wearing shorts during the day, but you're in a goddamn snowmobile suit at night because it can get super cold here.
Yeah.
And the cold here in this part of Florida, Central Florida, is a very weird cold. It's cold. It's a damp, bone-chilling cold when it's cold there because of just the water levels here, and we're surrounded by water, and it makes everything different. It's a damp kind of cold. So. Yeah, you got to deal with that kind of stuff. Then you get into summer. Well, then you get into windy season, and you can't put your flags up, or you can't put your sign up, or things are blowing off your counter. It's annoying as all can be. Then you get into it's super hot, and you're racing in 109-degree weather. So you see it all, you get dealt with it all, and you're outside all the time. So you just got to be really good at putting up with crap.
Yeah, no, Central Florida, I've been to Disney World 3 times, and kind of around that time of the year, and it's the only thing that comes close to it reminds me of like Bay Area, like San Francisco. Just I don't know. It's something special. Well, but then what's nice though is if there's a tropical storm, obviously not for racing, it's not nice, but where I'm from in the Pacific Northwest, when it rains, it's like you've got the dial all the way down to freezing cold. When it rains in Florida, it's like the dial is pretty much on the hot knobs, and it feels actually kind of nice. But yeah,
hot weather brings that stuff for sure. So it's like I can't complain today. The sun's shining. It feels good in the sun. It's a little on the chilly side. Only going to hit about 69, but hey, 69 is better than 16. So.
Yes.
Linda's down here and wants to see some things. I'm hoping the weather stays stays a little bit nicer so she can see some of Florida that I see. Take her to some of the spots I go to. We got some things planned out. We'll see the concert. I'm going to go see the go-karts race over at Daytona International Speedway next week on Saturday. The WKA's there, and that's a big event. That's fun to go to. We'll head down. I'll watch the Red Eye, which is a race at New Smyrna Speedway, which is an asphalt track. I made that a tradition to go to that just to, get some asphalt racing in. But a lot of visits to the beach yet to come before we hit the road, and hopefully we can get them all in there and some shows to go see. But I know she wants to get over to Disney World. I'm not a big fan of that place over there. To me, Orlando's just another country. Yeah. And I like to stay out of it, but it's kind of like Miami. You just want to go around them places. It's just so many people and just congested like crazy. But maybe we'll get her over there. That place is a little overwhelming, but it's been a long time, and I can get us a little cheaper there because I'm a Florida resident. But I don't know how much of a deal I get for that, but
5 cents off. Yeah. So, yeah. Well, it's been great to hear your journey, and for folks that want to follow along, the social media outlets, obviously, Living Like Outlaws. Any other places they can? Is it just Facebook, or you do some other platforms, social media
No,
platforms?
yeah, because of the help I have two great people that help me get this stuff done, and Katie and Darren, and we're on Instagram, we're on X, and we also have a YouTube channel. So we've grown, and we're growing more on that stuff as well. And I got people kicking me in the butt, telling me to start doing TikTok and Reels and stuff like that. So we're gonna take it to the next level again this 2024. I try to turn it up a notch as much as I possibly can.
Wonderful. Well, it's been great to get to know you and hear about your journey and everything, Wes. And hopefully, you guys have a great holiday down there with Christmas and New Year's. And looking forward to bumping into you at an outlaw race in California or at Knoxville for the Nationals.
Yeah, sounds good. We hope to see you there, man. And anybody coming to one of our shows, please come up and say hello. And I'll hand you a little token of my appreciation to get you to follow my page, and if you don't already. And I love doing the almost famous Subi selfie. If you don't know what that is, come to the trailer and find out. So hope to see all the fans at World of Outlaws Not Your Drink Sprint Car Series event in 2024, and see you and yourself and some other friends of mine. And let's keep this ball rolling.
This episode is a production of Highside Racing Promotions. Be sure to like the YouTube as well as Facebook page and like these videos. The more likes and the more attention it gets, and we would like to get as much information out to the racing community. Whenever or wherever you're watching these episodes, we hope that you enjoyed them